Hello, this is Victor. I'm here doing a video to do an overview of all the different armies in Warhammer 40K. And yeah, take into account that this is done now in August 2015, so maybe there are some armies that will appear in future that are not here anymore, and there are some changes. And at the speed that Warhammer was changing in the last 6 months, yeah, I expect that will be some miss if you watch this video maybe in or in 6 months or something like that. So take into account the scope that is August 2015. And I'm doing this video because I did in 2013 I did a video doing the same overview of the different armies, but I think it changed a lot from since then. We are in a new edition. Now we changed from 6 to 7 edition in the meantime. Sorry. And we have more armies than before. So I think it makes sense to make a look on the different armies, and it's especially indicated for these people that want to start in Warhammer 40k, those who have just a picture, a view, or a short explanation on what this army is about or what this faction is about. All these factions are taken from the Games Workshop official website. So this is all the armies that they have in the list today, talking about the last week of August 2015. Let's make a look. So the first thing I need to tell, with all the new allies system in Warhammer 40k, each codex are not as independent as they used to be, and there is much more interaction and much more mixture between the different codexes. So I cluster the codexes in different groups, and one of the most important groups are the Imperium. All the armies we are going to see next are the Imperium armies. Are armies that can ally each other as battle brothers, meaning that they can exchange psychic powers. They are considered always friendly in if you take them as allies. They can use the transport between armies, and the independent characters can join any of the different other factions that are part of the Imperium. So all the Imperium armies are battle brothers. So if you need to know all the rules, go to the basic rule book. But here, all take into consideration that all the next armies that are under the Imperium umbrella, they are all battle brothers, so you can ally, you can mix very easily, you can exchange powers between them, they can do effects that interact with the other armies, so it's good to take this into consideration. So if we start in alphabetic order, the first we find are the Adeptas sororitas. These were before known as the Sisters of Battle, and this is an army that is mainly specialized in mid-range shooting. They have is a small codex. They have a lot of weaknesses or a lot of things that they cannot do. They don't have flyers. They don't have a good anti-fly system, but they have a very strong anti-vehicle, anti-infantry at short range. They are specialized. They are most of them are female soldiers with power armor, so they are well equipped. But they are not Space Marines. They are not as strong as the Space Marines, especially in close combat. So you have to be careful on that. They have some good close combat units, and they also have inside the priest and the ecclesiarchy conclave that are cult assassins and some other units that are good in close combat. So it's a army specialized in shooting mid-range with some good close combat units, and then they have as a heavy support one of the best tanks in this game, that is the Exorcist. Unfortunately, this army has not been updated for years, so if you are starting knowing Warhammer 40k, maybe it's not the best army to start, because they only have metal miniatures. I don't know if they passed them to Finecast, but they have not been updated in the last 10 years, I will say, something like that. So the miniatures are quite old. They are Knights, they are awesome miniatures, but they are expensive and difficult to collect, and they are not easy to find at second hand in eBay neither. So yeah, Adepta sororitas, Sisters of Battle, and this is the one of the only. There are not a lot of female miniatures, so this is one of the armies that have female miniatures in them. The next army we find is the Adeptus Astartes Blood Angels. We have different chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, and there are some that have their own rulebook or their own codex. Blood Angels are one of them. This army is more specialized in short range and close combat with a lot of jump pack units. They have more jump pack units than the other Space Marine chapters. So this is normally their specialization. They have lost a little bit in the last Codex update because the troops, the jump or the assault marines are not anymore troops. But I will say that if you like the jump packs and the armies with a lot of jump pack Space Marines, Blood Angels is one to take into consideration. Specialized, as I said, in short range, medium, short range, and close combat. I would say that they don't have, is the only, this chapter don't have grab weapons yet, and is maybe, yeah, and is not the last updates that the Space Marines had. So it's not the strongest Space Marines chapters today, but it's have a lot of character, and yeah, and they have also as a specialist, a special unit. They have, for example, the Sanguinary Guard that is like 2+ armor save with jump packs, and they also have the Death Company. That is a company that is completely specialized in close combat and is quite strong. Next, we have the Adeptus Astartes Dark Angels. This is a picture of my army. So yeah, this is this army is specialized in having 3 wings, what they call 3 wings. They have what is called the Raven wing, that is specialized in motorbikes, land speeders, attack bikes. So it's a fast hitting army in that case. They have some special units in bikes that don't have the Space Marines, the other chapters. Then they have also the Deathwing, that is a all Terminators company. This is also very good if you want to play Terminators. This is also a good army to start with. And then they have the other companies that are more the normal tactical Space Marines or the power weapon Space Marines. They don't have Centurions, they don't have other upgrades that the normal Space Marines have, the other chapters of Space Marines have. But if you like bikes, no, they are very strong. So they have a very strong build with bikes and land speeders. And they can be very fast. And as I say, and they also have a lot of synergies between the bikes and the Terminators. For example, the bikes have the teleport beacon that helps or minimize the scattering of the Terminators when they want to teleport next to the bikes. So it's a chapter specialized in combining bikes and Terminators. So the Great Knights, Adeptus Astartes Great Knights, they are the elite of the elite of the elite. So there is nothing that is more elite than them on the Imperium army. They are elite over the Space Marines. If you like Terminators and you like close combat, short range army, this is the guys you want to go. They are specialized in fighting demons. So Great Knights normally are the specialized guys in fighting demons and killing great demons and demons of any type. They have nice options. They are not one of the biggest codex, but I don't think they are the shortest codex neither. So they have options in all the different aspects. They have troops, they have elites, they have fast attack, and they have also heavy support. They have a very popular units today that are the Dread Knights, and also they have a good flyer. But the point here is the big challenge is you are going to be very, very outnumbered. So this is a super elite army. You're going to be very short. Where other peoples are filling 100 miniatures, you're going to field 25 miniatures, something like that. So they are going to be outnumbered 1 to 4 most of the times. 1 to 3, even against Space Marines are going to be outnumbered, 1 to 2 or 1 to 1.5. So they are super elite. They don't have a lot of long range shooting. Normally they like to fight below 24 inches distance. And where they excel, where they are very strong, is in close combat. So yeah, if you like close combat armies with a very short range shooting, they are the Great Knights with a strong elite armies. You have to be very careful playing them because although they have one of the best armors, that is the Terminator armor, 2+ armor save and 5+ invulnerable save, and they will die anyway under saturating shooting on them. So yeah, you have to be careful, and if you make mistakes, it's going to be very, very difficult that you recover from that mistake. So it's army that can be very strong, but needs to be played very well. The next we have is the standard Space Marines, Adeptus Astartes Space Marines. Here we have the main chapter. Here are the Ultramarines. These are the chapters that more or less are following the codex or the chapter codex written by Robert Gilliman. So yeah, this codex today is one of the strongest ones because they have some very specific informations. And yeah, all the codex we have reviewed up to now, all these Space Marines codex, the Blood Angels, the Dark Angels, and these Space Marines have a lot of options. They don't have real weaknesses because you have flyers, you have good range shooting, you have good close combat, so they are quite covered and they have a lot of options. So these are codex that have a lot of options in there. Now the Space Marines are very strong, a lot of options for elites, troops, fast attack, heavy support, a lot of characters to put there. So the really is army that if you want to collect Space Marines, there are a lot of things to collect there. There are different build types that you can do, and you can specialize then your chapter in what you like most. Yeah, we have to consider that the Space Marines are the elite of the Imperium. So all the Adeptus Astartes are the elite of the Imperium. So they are Marines that are well equipped. They have minimum 3+ armor, except the Scouts that have 4+ armor. They have always weapon and ballistic skill 4, toughness 4, strength 4. So this is the minimum. So they make them quite resilient, and they make them able to do well in shooting and in close combat. But they are not specialized. So if a unit that is super specialized in close combat is assaulting a unit of Space Marines that is just attacking Space Marines, they will lose. But if the Tactical Marines is assaulting any other unit that is not specialized in close combat, they will most likely win. So they are not the best in everything, but they are good in everything. And then you can specialize them to be the best in some of the points. Here you have to be careful when you're collecting Space Marines. If you use a lot of elites, you're going to be outnumbered a lot. The same for Dark Angels and for the Blood Angels. If you use a lot of Terminators, if you use a lot of Centurions, or you use a lot of elite choices, most likely you will be outnumbered 1 to 3, 1 to 4 easily. Normally Space Marines if they fight any other army that is not an elite army, they are most likely will be outnumbered 1 to 2 minimum. Space Wolves. Space Wolf, it's an army that have been very popular. For me are the Nordic Space Marines. They have very peculiar units that are the Thunder Wolves cavalry. They are very good in mid-range and in close combat. They can be very good in close combat as well. They have some good options in long range because they still have the long fangs that are the equivalent of the Devastators. They have tanks for the long range, so you can do very different builds. But what makes them different from the rest of the armies is that they don't follow the Codex Astartes. and they are more specialized in close combat. They don't use a lot of jump pack units as the Blood Angels. They are more the Thunderstrike Cavalry and Drop Pod Assault. And they have a lot of special weapons, short range, and as the big difference from other Space Marines, the units normally don't have heavy weapons. They prefer the assault weapons. So yeah, a lot of they have some nice equipment for close combat. And yeah, this is all. So this historically this is a chapter. This is specialized in killing other Space Marines chapters. So you can imagine that they are strong. They are not as elite maybe as can be the Grey Knights, but they are more elite normally than other Space Marines chapters. Next we have the Adeptus Mechanicus, Cul Mechanicus. This is one of the codex launched this year, 2015. We will see that there are several codex launched during 2015. This is a small codex. They have six different entries in the army, and they do have different formations. I think this is a codex thought to combine with other codex in the Imperium, especially to combine with the skittery that we are going to see later on. They combine quite well with the Imperium. They have very strong shooting. Especially they have strong shooting, anti-vehicle and anti-infantry, and yeah, and more or less in mid-long range shooting. They also can be quite resilient. They have units that can be very resilient, but they have high toughness, but they don't have the armor as strong as the Space Marines. So, and then in close combat, they are not going to be as strong as the Space Marines can be. They have a couple of units that can be quite strong in close combat, but they are very fragile at the same time. So yeah, I will say that for me the Cul Mechanicus is an army that is thought for mid-range, long-range shooting, and have some weapons that are very specific from them and can be quite strong. Of course, these are the Cul Mechanicus from Mars, and they are all, if you like the fluff, there you will find also fluff from other Forge Worlds. So this is one of the cult that are inside of the Imperium. And as I was saying before, then we have the Skittery. The Skittery are part of the Adeptus Mechanicus, as you can see, and the codex is called Adeptus Mechanicus Skittery. They are units specialized also in medium range shooting. They are not as resilient as the Space Marines, but they have some strong shooting, and they also have some good close combat units. They don't have the armor normally is around 4+. I don't remember if they have 3+, but they are a good combination between resilient, short range, and assault. They have some anti-flight, but they don't have flyers. Again, this is an army that have about 6 entries in the army, if I'm not wrong. 7 entries have in the codex, and we have to take into account that they don't have HQ. So if you're only playing a Skittery, you will have to choose one of your characters in one of your units as your warlord. I think this army is also thought to combine with other armies of the Imperium to give some extra boost. And I have to say that there is a formation that is combining the Cul Mechanicus, and is combining the Skittery and the what's called the Imperial Knights. So yeah, another medium to small codex, and yeah, to be able to combine with other units inside of the Imperium. Then we have one of the more classical codexes in the Imperium, is the Astra Militarum, in the old times called the Imperial Guard. These are the humans, the normal humans fighting for the Imperium. They are average in everything. They are not good in skills, but they can deploy a lot of units on the battlefield. They have two ways to fight. You can go very heavy on infantry, deploying a lot of man with a lot of weapons. So they are not going to be shooting the weapons, but you are going to have so much weapons on the battlefield that some of them will arrive to the target. They also have some of the best tanks of some of the most resilient tanks in the game. They have all the Lehman Russ tanks types. They have armor 14 in the front and 13 on the sides, or 12 depending on the variant. They have very good transports. They have very good artillery tanks, and they have a very good flyer. So they are quite covered, but we have to take into account that they are humans, so they skills are average. They are not good, and they don't have anything that is really strong in close combat, except one unit, the Ogwins, and they will not excel in close combat neither, compared to other units that we can find in close combat. So is an army that is specialized in shooting long range, from very long to long and medium range. So it's really a shooting army, where if you play infantry, you want to synergize the different units, giving orders, and use some of the rules to boost their skills, and you also have the tanks to give a strong heavy support. So yeah, it's a very interesting, and they have a big codex with a lot of options in, and you can have very different build types and very different lists. So a difference from the cool mechanicus, this is one of the oldest codex with a lot of options there. Yeah, no more to say here. And then we go to the Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights is very recent. It's the second edition codex we have in 2015. This was launched, if I'm not wrong, in 2014 with 2 options, and today we have 5 different build-ups of the Imperial Knight, and all depends on the weapon configurations at the end. So they are fast, they have a good shooting, and they are very strong in close combat, thanks that they are is a codex that has 5 different types of super heavy walkers, and super heavy walkers with the Storm special rule can be very strong in close combat. They can be deployed as independent codex, but normally is more used as a support codex to other armies. Normally we see them playing next to Space Marines, or next to Imperial Guard, or even next to Cool Mechanicus. But they also have their own detachment that you can use to deploy these guys, and they have several different formations also to be able to deploy these guys as independent army. So this is up to you how you want to play. I will say, as independent army, you are going to be very short on units. Each of these knights, it's around from 300 to 400 points. So imagine if you play 1,500 points, you're going to have about 5 knights maximum. So you have to take this into account, because you can be outnumbered in number of units, and although you can be very resilient and very strong, so these knights are very resilient and very strong, they have good shooting, they are elite, but they are going to be they cost a lot of points at the same time, and they are going to be highly outnumbered. But anyway, I think it's a very interesting support choice for any of the Imperium armies. Then we have the Inquisition. The Inquisition is a very small codex, and I don't think it's designed to use the codex independently with any support. It's a codex that is only composed of HQs and elite choices. They are not, and they only have one. Well, they have the Inquisitor that have 3 options, can be Malleus, Hereticus, or Xenos, and then you have the Henchman unit, and you can choose different options inside, and you can configure them, and they have some transports that are the Valkyrias or the Chimeras, and I think also the Land Riders, if I'm not wrong. I will need to check this point, but I'm pretty sure. So it's a very small codex. I think it's thought mainly to be a support for other codexes, And if you want to make a fluff list of the Inquisition, I think it combines very well with any of the other armies of the Imperium. They can combine very well with the Imperial Guard or with the Space Marines. So yeah, a small codex. I don't think this is a codex that you want to start with. It's a codex that you can play. You can start if you want to give some variation to your army. Also take into consideration that this codex is only in digital option. I forgot to mention this also in the Adeptus sororitas. This codex and the Adeptus sororitas are only digital. You cannot find them in paper. So if you go to the Games Workshop and you ask for the codex, they will not have. They will tell you that you have to buy this electronically for iPads or for tablets. Then we have one of the small codex that is called the Militarum tempestus. I think this codex now have 1 year and a half in the market. It's composed. These are the elite of the Imperial Guard. So it's composed of humans that are better than his colleagues in shooting. They have ability 4, so they are better in shooting, and they are better equipped. Normally they have armor 4 plus save, when the Imperial Guard only have NOM as average 5+. So they are, but they are more expensive, of course, than their colleagues, and they don't have as much options as their colleagues. They have some good transports, they have some good skills. It's an army that don't have HQ neither. Normally it's composed by elite troops with the transports, and it's quite a small codex. I think it's another codex that is thought is one of the small codex that is thought as a support codex or to look support from other codexes to be played. But if you like the commando type of units, these are these guys. These guys are the commando type units, the commandos of the Imperial Guard. Then we have, this is not really codex, but they have their own entry in the Games Workshop website. I consider to talk about this. They have a data slate. You can deploy. They have one. You can deploy one of these. There are 4 different types of assassins. The Calidus is specialized in close combat to kill. Is specialized in killing characters in close combat. We have Eversor that is specialized in close combat to do mass kill in close combat. We have the Culexus, that is one of the most popular today, that is specialized in hunting psykers, and is very strong against psyker powers. He's immune to psyker powers, and he can really mess up with the psykers. And then we have the sniper guy, the Vindicare. He's specialized in snipe shooting. So you can deploy a unit of 4. So you can deploy them 4 as a one type of formation, or you can deploy them individually in your army, and are considered to put to add this guy just in any of the Imperium armies, as they work so independently from any other unit, because they cannot join any unit. And to be fair, they don't benefit other units. They are very independent. Normally they fight alone, and the objective of these guys is to mess up. I will say assassins can be played with any army, almost can be included in any other army. Because it's not taking big benefit of being battle brothers. Normally they work as independent active in your battlefield and as independent operative. So almost any army can benefit from them. So if you use Culexus and you want some very strong anti-psychic, Culexus is very strong on that. I think now today is the best choice of the different assassins. And this is finalizing the review of the different Imperium armies. And now we can go to the Chaos. Chaos is another group. All these next armies that we are going to see are under the Chaos umbrella, and they are battle brothers between each other. Chaos demons, or demons of chaos. These are the warp creatures. They are one of the most important armies in the fluff. They have a lot of different options. We have the 4 chaos gods inside of this army. They don't have shooting. Almost they don't have. I don't think they have very few units that can have any shooting. Normally they are specialized or in close combat or using psychic powers. And I have seen the two build types. They have some strength, they can have some strong psychic powers and armies, but at the end you need to go into the close combat to finalize if you want to win. So if you normally there are units that they don't have good armor, they have good skills, but they are very vulnerable to shooting if you don't protect them well with the different powers. So it's not an army easy to use, have a lot of tricky parts. You have to understand very well how the psychic phase works and how the different songs. And if you play, even if you play Khorne that don't have psychic powers, you have to be very careful how you play. So it's not the easiest army to play. They have some of the strongest close combat units because they are the Demon Princes, and the Great Demons are super strong in close combat. They are almost able to kill anything, and in the shooting they have very little to say. So yeah, it's an army that is the demons. Normally they don't have heavy armored units. The units normally have armor 5+ invulnerable, so they can save against any type of wound. But if you are shot down by a lot of bolter shots, most of your army can be killed under saturating fire. So you have to be careful how you play. But again, they are super specialized in close combat. Most of the units, if we look at the Demonettes or we look at the Bloodletters, the Fleshhounds, all these units are very strong in close combat, and they can rip apart enemy unit before the enemy unit can react. And then we have the Chaos Space Marines. These are very similar to their brothers, the Space Marines. And yeah, you have a lot of options, and they combine very well with the demons of chaos. So if you want to dedicate to one of the gods, the best option most of the times is if to combine Chaos Space Marines with Chaos Demons. They have now the cultists that they don't used to have in the past, and the cultists is a way to have more numbers. Normally the Chaos Space Marines have the point that they are quite expensive as the Space Marines, and you are easily outnumbered, especially if you start adding marks, gift, equipment, and all different options. So the way to balance this a little bit is using the cultists that are just there as a mid wall, so to just absorb shooting from the enemy. So yeah, these are the Chaos Space Marines are, as their brothers, can be very good in shooting, can be good in close combat. Normally they don't excel unless you take some units specialized, like the Berserkers. You will have units that are specialized in close combat. They're going to be quite expensive in points. You can have units that are very resilient, that are the Nurgle units. So it's an army that can be tailored very well, but it's going to be expensive if you want to cover all the different aspects. So you have to be very choiceful when you build up this type of army. The next we have, this new from this year, is the Khorne Demon King. This is like a combination of the Chaos Space Marines and the Chaos Demons army, and you only have Khorne troops. They have some internal rules to be able to summon more demons or summon more units during the fight. It's quite interesting army, and this army is specialized in short range close combat. You can have shooting, but I think if you do Khorne, it's because you want to go into the close combat, and you have some of the strongest close combat units here as well. So you have the demons, the Bloodletters, and you have the Berserkers, the Chaos Berserkers. Of course, you also can have very cheap units that are the cultists, and you will suffer the same problems as the Chaos Space Marines. If you start taking a lot of elite units, you're going to be outnumbered very easily. So you have to be also very choiceful here on what you get. Again, you have you have three different options for the Bloodthirster, that is the Great Demon, and you will have also the Demon Princess. And yeah, you can have very strong characters in close combat, flyers that are resilient. So you have a good combination of resilient troops with some good shooting and excelling in the close combat. And the next block I want to talk are the Eldar. Now there are three codexes of Eldar, and they are all battle brothers between them. So here, let's cover first the different eldars. These are part of the Xenos armies that we have in the Warhammer 40K. The first, of course, is the most popular and maybe the strongest of all the eldars, is the Craftworld Eldar. They have lots and lots and lots of different choices in all the different aspects of the game. You can have very different types of troops, and normally they are characterized. They have the Guardians that are very similar to is between Imperial Guard and Space Marine are between there. They are better in shooting, but they are not well equipped as the Space Marines. Although, yeah, it's some there, and they are the mass troops of the Eldar. But then you have the Aspect Warriors, and the Aspect Warriors are very specialized and very strong on what they do. The Holy Banshees and the Striking Scorpions are very good in close combat. If you want some anti-vehicle, you take the Fire Dragon. So you have there a lot of options, very good flyers. You have a very good elite units like the Wraith Guard or the Wraith Knight or the Wraith Lord. So you have a lot of very good options there. You can build up any type of army that you would like. If you want a very fast army, you go with jet bikes and shopping hawks. If you want some armies based on infantry, you can go more with guardians. So if you like the aesthetics of the Eldar, if you like how they look like, there you will find a lot of options, and you can have a huge collection of different type of miniatures. Have to warn you that some miniatures can be quite old in the range. Maybe they will modernize later on, but I think they are also one of the nicest miniatures and most recent miniatures there. So a very strong codex, one of the best codexes today, together with the Space Marines in the game. And I think it's things that have a lot of different options. And if you don't have enough with what you have in the Craftworld Eldar Codex, you have the Harlequins. Harlequins is a small codex. It's a codex that doesn't have HQ. It's a only have three options of elites, one option for troops, one option for fast attack, and one option for two options for fast attack if we take into account the transport, and one option for heavy support. Harlequins is a small codex, can operate alone, and I'm playing them alone without allies, and I have seen other people playing them alone. But you have to be very careful, because you will have strong weaknesses. They are very strong on what they do. They are super fast. They have good short range shooting with the Neuro Disruptor against creatures, and the fusion pistols against anything. They are super strong in close combat. If they assault, normally they rip apart any unit before. If we were considering the Grey Knights to be the elite of the Space Marines, these guys are the elite in the Eldar in the aspect of close combat. The problem they have is they are very fragile to shooting, so they are very easy to kill. They have only 5+ invulnerable save. They suffer the same as the demons. Any shooting to them are killing almost one of them. You have the Shadow Seers that can give a lot of psychic support, psychic power support, like the demons have the Sense. So I will say they are is an army that I think is thought that is specialized in fighting demons, because this is what the Harlequins do, but they also do well against other elite armies. If you have to fight mass armies, I'm not sure how they will fight, because they're going to be outnumbered. Here you have to be very choiceful. They are expensive and they are very fragile, so you have to be very careful. And any mistake that you make, it's almost a battle that you lost. So it's very interesting. It's very nice army, and of course you don't have here any anti-fly support. They don't have anything against that is effective against flyers, and they don't have flyers. So this is why I consider that Harlequins was thought more as a army to ally with the other eldars. But anyway, if you like them and you like a challenging paint job, I think these are great miniatures, and this is a fun army to play. Then we have the Dark Eldar, the dark side of the Dark Eldar. They are not as strong as the Craftworld Eldars today, but they have some very interesting build ups. They are fragile and fast. This is the main characteristics. They are alpha strike, fragile and fast. They have good close combat, but not as good as the Harlequins, but they have better shooting than the Harlequins. So they can be very strong in shooting. And they have units very specialized in shooting. So, but you have to be careful because your vehicles are made of paper, and you don't have, most of the time, you don't have armor against any of the shooting. So, very fragile, but they are really an alpha strike army. So you have to hit and hit hard in the way that your enemy cannot return fire to you. And yeah, if you like this type of armies, there are some builds to be able to resist a little bit more. They have some monstrous creatures like the Talos and the Kronos that there are some build types especially. And yeah, the Dark Eldar, then they have the Homunculus that can give some more resilience to the army. But if I will say one thing is, for me, the Dark Eldar is fast, hard striking army, and they don't go well with receiving shooting. The opposite, for example, for the Space Marines. The Space Marines can be slower, maybe not that fast, but they resist more the shooting from the enemies. So, and this is completing the Eldar armies, and we go now into the Xenos. And here the Xenos, I put the 3 Xenos armies. They are not battle brother between them. I don't think they have any battle brother ally. These are very popular in the background of the 40k, and they are important as well, and they have quite good codexes too. So let's start with Necrons. Necrons maybe it's considered one of the strongest codexes today, together with the Eldar and the Space Marines, and it's thanks to the special formation. These Necrons are mainly specialized in shooting medium range, short range, and close combat. But where they excel is because they are super resilient. They have a lot of rules to make them super strong and super resilient. It's very difficult to kill Necrons, and here is where the strongest point of the Necrons. So they are demoralizing the enemy because you kill them and they go up again. You kill them and you see that you shoot a lot, and you don't do damage to them, or you do very little damage. And this is where the Necrons are excelling. Completely the opposite of the Dark Eldars that we talked before. They also have very good mid-range shooting, and they have some fast close combat units. The units are specialized. The units that have close combat don't shoot. The units they have for shooting, they are very, very bad in close combat, and they are very easy to kill in close combat. Indeed, the shooting units, the best way to kill them is try to arrive in close combat and to rip them in pieces in close combat. Although they have good close combat units that are the Wraith, that are very strong there. So yeah, it's an army that you have to. They can be very resilient, and the units are specialized in doing what they are strong for. And if you take them out of the camp, for example, the The Wraith don't have any shooting, so if you can shoot them down, they will not return fire, although they are very fast and they will reach you very easily. So the Necrons are quite resilient. I think the strongest part is that they are very resilient and they have good shooting and some units that can be good in close combat. Orcs. Orcs is, I will say, the opposite completely from the Necrons or the Space Marines. They are the mass close combat army. They can deploy a lot of bodies, and they like to go into close combat and to kill you in close combat. You kill 10 orcs, this is nothing. You will have more than 100 more to kill later on. They can have quite strong units. They can have some elite orcs, and they can have some very weird weapons. So you like random things to happen, and if you like to move mass infantry, orcs is what you like. It's similar to what I was talking about the Imperial Guard. You can have builds with very elite and vehicles with not too much infantry, or you can have builds with a lot of infantry. They can go quite fast with some of the vehicles they have, but I will say is normally the orcs are also called sometimes the green tide. I think if the army is thought to go in mass to the close combat and to kill your enemy just because you put so many bodies that your enemy cannot deal with them. Then we have the Tau. Tau is completely opposite of what we have seen on Orcs. They are one of the highest technologies in the Warhammer 40K universe. They like to do a gun line and shoot the enemies from the distance. They are specialized in long range shooting. The basic weapon have longer range than any other basic weapon in the codex, in the other codexes. Their weapons have a lot of range, have a lot of strength, and very low AP, so they are very good in shooting. On the other side, they are very poor in close combat, except some very specialized units that can do some good things in close combat. Most of the units of the army are specialized in long range. And they are not as resilient as the Space Marines. They don't have the strong armies as the Space Marines in most of the cases. They have some units that are quite strong. They are not weak, but they are not as resilient, for example, as they can be the Necrons. So they are specialized. Necrons, for example, were specialized in mid-range. Orcs in close combat, short-range close combat. These guys are specialized in long range, trying to use the terrain to protect themselves and do shooting from long distances. And then we have the Tyranids. And in the case of the Tyranids, we have the bugs here. Of course, you can play in two different ways. You can play in the style of Godzilla monsters, so putting a lot of big monsters and trying to resist. Today is not maybe the most efficient. They also can have very strong flying monsters with shooting. This is the way that a lot of people is going with what is called the flying hive tyrants, with a lot of shooting, and then they can deploy a lot of very cheap bugs that are not good, but they can deploy a mass in close combat on short range shooting bugs. So here you have the monstrous creatures that can be quite resilient, they can resist quite damage, and they can be good in shooting or good in close combat, and then they have a lot of small type of creatures that can go into the close combat directly and will kill most of the units. Here is Tyranids is a very specific army. They cannot ally with any. They don't have allies at all. It's very difficult to ally Tyranids with other armies because they have the boss rules for allies. And I will say if you like big alien creatures and the bugs, this is the army that you would like to field. Take into consideration that today is not maybe the strongest army there, but they have a lot of different bugs, monsters, and different type of creatures. And that's all. That's all. I hope you find this review interesting. So yeah, I hope this take into account that this 2015, August 2015, and the things can change in the next month. So that's all for this moment. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.